All right, I'd like to go to the next mimer in Torah Ohr, because it's a little bit less Kabbalistic and a little more clear. And the previous one was talking about what happened from the 12 loaves of bread that were in the Holy Temple, that were put in the Holy Temple. If you went into the room, which is called the Holy, the Kodesh, you went into the room on the right side, there was what's called 12 loaves of bread, lechem apanim. And this lechem apanim was really the source of sustenance for the whole entire world. Came in a holy way. And we get a little bit of that every Shabbat. But the way we get it now in the Shabbat is very watered down. And that's what he says, kfila uklisha. Kfila uklisha, that's from the song of the Arizal that we sing on Shabbos, that the secret of the 12 loaves of bread is kfila and kalisha. And he explains that kfila and kalisha is two different revelations. One's from the letter Yud of God's name, and one's from the letter Hey of God's name, but it's in a weak way. It's weak, and the Yud is revealed in a way that's called Kalisha, weak, and the Hey is revealed in a way it's called double. Double is not really revealed. And somehow or other, the Rebbe connects this to Marat HaMachpelah. The Marat HaMachpelah, the doubled, is that now it's not revealed the true essence of the godliness that's there. That's how I understand it. But in the future, it won't be that way. In the future, both Shabbat, all the sustenance of the world, and also the true godliness, which is in Marat HaMachpelah, the place where the Avos are buried, will be revealed. That's that's the point of the Mimer. That now the perception that we have of reality now is very weakened and watered down and very, how do you say, just like an example, a picture, or something of what real reality is. We don't really have reality. And that's what's revealed now, but in the future it will be re-revealed. It will be revealed greater even than it was in the Holy Temple, etc. But exactly how you get it out of these words that are here, I'm not that clear. That's what it says. So we're going to go to the next mimer. We'll go to the next mimer. If you read over the mimer, you can see. Anybody has comments? Okay. Lahavin inyan mashomer is alafish yafisha achas b'tshuva ma'asim tov v'olam hazeh mikol chai olam haba. To understand the strange statements that the rabbis say, it's in Pirkei Avot, chapters of the fathers. It's better 1 hour, in other words, 1 moment of repentance and good deeds in this world than all of the life, than an eternity of the world to come. Right? Now this sort of makes sense to us a little bit, because we have absolutely no idea what the world to come is. We don't know what it is. Right? A person's in this world, he dies, everybody's crying and weeping, going berserk. And really the person, his soul is going into this tremendous level of pleasure and whatever it is, of revelation of God that's there, the revelation of truth, and we're completely out of it. Uncle Joe is gone. That's what we have no idea what's going on in the upworlds. It says, but if we had any idea what's going on, you with me, Herschel? In the upper worlds is a tremendous level of pleasure which is being revealed, which is infinitely more than all of the pleasures of this world, all the pleasures you could possibly roll together in this world, right? Of power and what people don't do for power, for popularity, for simple pleasures, for physical pleasures, emotional pleasures, success, revenge, what?
That's why this sentence from Avos is so confusing.
So now, all of a sudden, if we look at it in a true way, what's really going on in this world? It says that all of the pleasures, physical pleasures, emotional pleasures, even spiritual pleasures that you can get in this world, are all of them, if you roll them all together with all the people that have ever experienced pleasure, and you can experience all those pleasures, you think what people are willing to do for pleasure. All those pleasures, it's nothing like even one moment in heaven after a person dies. And nevertheless, in Pirkei Avot, in the chapter of the Fathers, it says, it's better one moment of repentance and good deeds in this world than all of the world to come.
Doesn't make sense.
Totally incomprehensible. Seems like, and not only doesn't it make sense, it's the most ridiculous, maybe the most ridiculous thing you could possibly say. But we have to understand, hello, Tachlis Tshuva, even more, isn't it the whole purpose of Judaism, of doing repentance, religion? You're doing repentance, you're doing good deeds. Hushemeim nasa levushim, the soul gets garments. Shetochel lehanos, that it's able to get pleasure, miziva shechina, from the ray of God's reality, ba'olam haba, in the world to come. Kamaimra Zohar, like it says in the Zohar, on the pasuk Avram Zaken Bo B'Yamim, that Abraham was old, coming in days. It's in this week's portion. What does it mean? Abraham was old and he was coming in days. What does that mean? He's coming in days. He was old. Says the Zohar, Be'inun Yomim Elohim, that he possessed these upper days. Namely, every person in this world, since Adam anyways, dies. Right? You probably noticed this. Everybody dies. I mean, we haven't seen everybody dying, but usually you don't see too many people like more than 120 years old, something like that, or 200-year, 500-year-old people. There's no people like that in the world. People die. That's the way it is. Why do people die? Well, if so, why are they even born in the first place? What's the whole point? That's the whole point. Says the Rebbe, the point is that every moment that's given to you in life is an opportunity to make a free choice. And that free choice enables you to receive rewards that are much higher than the soul had before it came into the world. And that's what's called the upper days. Upper days. You have a chance to use your time in this world, because time itself is only a creation. Time in this world in order to make garments for your soul, because the soul existed before the world, to make garments for your soul, so it can receive the infinite pleasures of the world to come. Huh? Makes sense? A little bit. Like it says, Vai leilahu gavra, says in the Zohar. It's written in Aramaic. Woe is it, right? Woe to that person, the gora yomim, that detracts, it's missing, days le'ela, above. The kad bayin la'albisha lay, that when God wants to clothe his soul after a person dies, meaning yomim, in these days, yom the pagam, a day which he has blemished, which he didn't use properly, chasra lay, will be missing, mehahu levusha, from that garment, keniskoleel. So we see that the whole purpose you do Torah and you do mitzvahs in this world is only to get to the world to come. Huh? You go to heaven.
Yeah, but we're told that we shouldn't, we're not supposed to do that. It's supposed to be just about here. We shouldn't plan on, there's no...
Plan, but the whole purpose is to go into the world. Let's say don't plan because you're not sure you're going to go to heaven or not. But the fact is that
the work is to just serve Hashem.
Yeah, serve Hashem. But the point is that by serving Hashem without thinking about the big rewards, so you get the big rewards. Yeah. So in other words, the whole purpose of serving is for these big rewards, right? That's what it says. You get the big rewards. I mean, why does God make the big rewards at all? Let him just put the soul in the world, and then you serve God.
In the Torah, it doesn't tell us about it.
And then you wait for the. It explains in Midrash. Here it says in here with no here you have Pirkei Avos, Olam Haba talks about all. There is such a thing as Olam Haba. Don't think that there isn't. Just because the Chumash doesn't talk about it, doesn't mean that there isn't such a thing. Let's say the Chumash doesn't talk. It's like you go to medical school, right?
But it doesn't focus on it.
Medical school, they don't tell you about how much you're going to earn. right? You go to medical school, the whole medical school, they teach about this to do, what treatment here to do, and they say, this baby, you're going to get $5,000. There was a doctor in the Bronx that he took $10,000 for each. What do you say about that? Right? Everybody's writing it down, and then you get tested on it, right? You get tested. How much money can you take for such and such a thing? They don't talk about that in medical school. Right? You reward. The same thing in Judaism. You don't talk about the rewards. But the fact of the matter is, people go to be a doctor to get the rewards. Right? Why you choose to be a doctor? Few people choose to be a doctor because they love humanity. Right? Someone comes into them and says, listen, I give $1 million for this operation. Say, no, I do it for free. I help the poor. Where do you find people like that? Right? The person does it for money. He wants money. Okay, here it's even more. Here God himself gives you the reward. Maybe you say, listen, I'm a true doctor. I don't care about the money. It makes no difference. Good. But here we're talking about God himself gives you this reward. This is what God wants. God is the one who gives a person this integrity that he wants to be a good doctor. He does it for the sake of values. God is the one who makes up the values. Here God is telling you that you're going to go to the world to come if you do the mitzvahs. It says in Pirkei Avos, it's better to do good deeds in this world than all of the world to come. I mean, nobody gets all of the world to come anyway. So how can I even say it's better than the world? And anyone could do a good deed in this world. No one's going to get all of the world to come, right? That's an exaggeration, right? No, it means if it says it, it means it. Let's see what it means. It's like this, this whole idea of getting pleasure from the rays of God's presence in the world to come. The world to come, we're talking about heaven here. This is not the type of life that goes into the worlds. Like it says, Ve'ata mechaya et kulam, that God enlivens everything. She'achayot elokut, that the life of God, godly life, hamitlabesh, which is clothed toch olamim in the worlds, eno musag v'nira, we cannot understand it and grasp it. Kamoshal ispashtus achayas shel neshama. For instance, let's take an example: the spreading out of life of the soul in the body. Right? Everybody has a soul, everybody has a body. Everyone who's listening to this, for sure, 100% you have a soul and you have a body. The soul is totally incomprehensible. And even more, the soul itself spreads out ha'evorim in the different limbs. Bevadai, be'achayot ruchni, lo shayach kalal, shiyeh bo gam kein itchalkut. The soul gets spread out into the body. Certainly we can't say, though, that the spirituality of the soul gets spread out into the body, that the soul has a head, has eyes. Your soul does not have any form to it, that this part of the soul goes into your eye and this part of the soul goes into... But on the other hand, it does go into your eye. Well, what does it mean? He's palus achayus.
How do you know that the soul doesn't have a form?
What?
How do you know the soul doesn't have a form?
A soul is a soul. You ever see a soul?
Maybe.
I don't know. I never saw a soul. Maybe in the movies, you saw... But, a ghost is on Halloween. A soul is a spiritual thing, a spiritual unit. Spiritual units have no measurements, if you want. But it's a miracle how God puts this spiritual thing into a physical body.
How the eye of the soul goes to the eye.
To the eye, yeah. He's palus achayas be'evorim, that the soul has an effect on the limbs. Nikr v'nira, you can see it clearly. You move your finger, move your eye. Mahut v'atzmut achayut. But what is this life exactly that's in your eye? Eino nira v'nikr kalal. You can't see it. There's no doctor, at least that I know of, that has been able to identify the power that goes into your eye, into your ear, the power of sight. They can just fix up the nerves, they can fix up this so that it works. But what exactly is working, where it's coming from, I don't know. Kamokain, similarly, Chayos elokus amachayes kol olamos, the godliness which enlivens the world's bal gavur, limited world. V'tachlit bevadai ein b'hachayot haruchni b'chinet gavur v'tachlit. Certainly there is not in the spiritual godliness that enlivens and enlivens the worlds. The spirituality is not limited. It's not limited. Derech mashal chayos amachaya es igul kadur hashamayim. For instance, the life which enlivens the the sphere of the heavens. All the planets are spinning around, going around. Bevadai lo yitachen, it's as you cannot say, shagam chayot haruchni, the spiritual power, which enlivens things, who tamunas eagle is in the shape of a big circle. K'nis galeel. Rak shehitz. Let's take even a better example. You have, I don't know if it's a better example, electricity, right? Electricity goes into this. Has anybody ever seen electricity? No one sees electricity. You can see what electricity does. When electricity runs through something, you can see the effects that it has. But what is electricity itself? Right? Nobody knows. Is it big? Is it small? Is it white? Is it dark? What is it? Right? When it goes into a machine, it changes. Okay, the power that goes into the body is not exactly the same thing. The soul, it says, has the power of sight. And the power of sight is different from the power of hearing. It's not like the electricity that goes into a refrigerator is the same electricity that goes into a heater. In the soul has the power of seeing. The soul has the power, it says, after a person dies, he sees, he hears. But these powers that there are in the soul of seeing and hearing and enlivening, they're not limited. They're not, I don't want to say defined. No one has seen them, no one knows what they are, no one has to bring them back. A person, God forbid, loses his power of sight, right? He loses his power of sight. Let's say he gets in an accident. But even more, people get into an accident, they drown. They drown. They get hit hard, and the wind gets knocked out of them, they choke. Now their whole body is totally whole, right? It's totally whole. All the nerves are there, all the limbs are there, everything is there. It's just that the soul has left the body for too long. And the person's been unconscious for too long, whatever it is, and he's dead. Bring him back. What's the problem? So we can't bring him back. He's dead. So I don't understand. You can do a heart transplant. You can do a nose transplant. You can do all these different transplants. It's a big deal. Put the soul back in his body. What's the problem? He's got a whole body. Put it back. Can't do it. Right? There are stories about people. There's a story I heard personally about a girl. She went blind, and she went to the Rebbe, and the Lubavitcher Rebbe, and he told her that she should, if she accepts on herself that she's going to told her a whole big mystical story, and he said that if she accepts on herself that she'll try to spread out in her neighborhood, that girls should keep Shabbat as her sight, not her sight. This is the power of speaking. Will come back, and she spoke and it came back, and she did it and it came back. Right? Just came miraculous. How it happened, who knows? Right? Somehow the power of sight, the power of hearing, the power of speech. These are powers. You can't see them. You don't know what they are. It's a miraculous thing. Okay. And now we can understand what it says, Malay Kolaretz Kavodo, when it says that the whole world is filled with God's glory. The Targum, Ziv Yakara, a ray of God's glory. Ziv Yakara. That the whole enlivening of the world, and also the world, the upper worlds, the spiritual worlds, Rakziv Vitpashtu Ta'ora Bilvad, is just a ray and a spreading out of godliness alone. It's not the essence of what God is. The Chasiv, and it says, "As the Shamayim v'Sa'oretz Ani Malay." But then there's another sentence that says, "The heavens and the earth, I personally fill." 1 minute, let's go back here. The world is being enlivened and filled by godliness, but this is only a ray of godliness. The essence of godliness can't be in the world; it's too much. But then there's another sentence that says that not God's honor, glory fills the worlds, a ray of godliness. It says that the Shemayim v'Torah Ani Malay. God says, I personally myself fill the whole world. So what is really happening over here? Is God personally filling the world, or is it just a ray of godliness filling the world? What's really happening? V'inyan, sheshnei yamim, that both of them are true. Kanizkar leil. V'zeh she'omer rizal. That's what the rabbis say. B'makom she'ata motzah gadolaso shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu sham ata motzah vasnuso. The place where you find God's greatness, right, in the upper worlds, there you find His humility. What do you mean God's humility? Compare this world to the upper worlds, spiritual worlds. It says that the heavens, one angel, it says, is 3 times as big as the universe. Another place is a third of the universe, 3 times as big as the universe. And there's an infinite number of angels. So we have no conception of what's going on. That's God's infinite greatness. This is what you should know. That's not God's infinite greatness. That's God's lowness. The fact that God can come down and make a world, even a spiritual world, this is a tremendous descent in God's reality. Tahainu lo kamosha olam sovrim, not like the world thinks. Shegedula sabora, that the greatness of God is mashahu mechayet kol olamot, that God enlivens all the worlds, all the spiritual worlds. You read in the Zohar, you read in the Kabbalah, okay, Herschel, She'arabah, how God enlivens and creates all these upper worlds, these upper spheres, Atzilus and etc. That shows how great God is, right? This world is like nothing compared to the upper worlds. That's the greatness of God. Says the Rebbe, that's not the greatness of God. Zui Yurida Etzlo, that God enlivens the upper worlds, this is a tremendous descent. Shemashpil Atzmo, that He brings Himself down. Umislabish Toch Kol Olam, and He clothes Himself in all the worlds. La Chayosam, to enliven them. Ulakayimam, and to keep them in existence. So that God enlivens angels. It says a person sees an angel, he would die immediately, would just go crazy. How Adam saw in Abraham and Hagar, how they saw, it's just a miracle how they saw. But the fact is, an angel, it's a infinitely, like opening up your door and seeing a huge, 20 million pound dog or something standing there going to eat you, right? Frightening. You see one, whatever's a Doberman Pinscher or something that weighs 100 pounds, it's just frightening, your soul jumps out. To see an angel is infinitely more frightening or than any of these science fiction movies or books or whatever. Right? What Isaiah saw is infinitely more, awesome than the most wild imagination you can find in any science fiction book. And all of this shows on God's greatness, how He creates all these worlds and He creates all these things. Look at this world, He creates all the angels, He creates all this. That shows God's greatness, right? He says, no. If you think that's God's greatness, you got a big lesson to learn, my friend. That, in fact, is God's lowness, that He can come down so low and contract His light and hide over Himself, that He can do this little trick of creating angels and worlds. That's nothing. You have no idea what God is. On that one it says that you, God, enliven everything. We're not praising how great God is. That God's greatness is incomprehensible. And to understand what God is, there's absolutely no way of counting. Ella what? A shevach, that what we're praising God, this is bechinas anava. Don't think that because God is bigger than you, that shows how big He is. No. That God is bigger than you, that God has come down to the point where you can say God is bigger than me, that shows how low God can make Himself. He can bring Himself down to a point where He's relative to you. Namely, that God can bring Himself down so low. But this whole idea of the world to come, that you get pleasure from the ray of the Shekhinah, who hasagas mahus va'atzmos. This is understanding the essence of what God is. Hispashas achayas alakus b'bechinas gilui. This is in a way of revelation, revealing the greatness of God. Okay, what's the Rebbe trying to say? This which God enlivens the world, this is only like what do you want to call it, the process, the physical process. The revelations that the souls get in heaven. This is a little ray, what do you want to call it, of God's essence. Not just the aspect of God that enlivens the worlds. This somehow or other comes from God's essence. Why? Because the world to come, this idea of going to heaven, this mainly comes from the Torah and the commandments that we do. The Torah and the commandments that we do. You do Torah and commandments, that reaches higher than the whole entire creation. This affects the Creator Himself. And that's the revelations that you get in the world to come, right? So this is even higher than what the angels get. This is like the real thing. Says the Rebbe, and you should know that doing good deeds in this world is even higher. Okay, Herschel? Ella, tzorech lavin, we have to understand. So the soul gets this tremendous blast of godliness in the heavens. When it goes after it dies, goes to heaven, gets this tremendous blast of Ella, data, tzorech lavin. Now we have to understand, how can a soul, which is limited, she bechinas nivra, yesh, davar b'fnei atzmo. We just finished saying that all the creations, even the most spiritual, are just creations of God. They're just rays of God. They're just aspects of God. When a person goes to heaven, he gets a little shot of the essence of God. How can the soul, which in itself is just a creation, lahasig, appreciate the mahus v'atzmos, the essence of God that you cannot possibly understand? Even though the soul of a Jew, it says, is a portion of the essence of God. Hu derech mashal kamo tipas azera. This is something like the drop, the seed of the father, shenimshach me'amoach, that comes from the brain of the father. Shelo yitachen lomar shegam odenu b'mocho hayata tipa zera gashmis. In kein haya nechsar me'amoach. It's not possible with the power of birth, very incredible. The power of birth comes from the father and the mother, right? Well, you have to have a father and a mother. The father he provides the seed. The mother provides the female seed. You want to call it, right?
Which provides the dirt, the earth.
No, listen. The mother is, in a way, that's the.
It's confusing because you think of the as the woman has the egg. It's
Right.
really not the egg. It's sort of like
the ground that the egg is put into. Okay, good. So the man then, if you want to call it that, then the man provides the seed. This seed has the power of giving birth. Pretty amazing. This seed that gives power of birth, this is something like the soul when it comes into the. According to Kabbalah, this seed has the power of birth. Right? The father's semen has the power of birth. Where does it get the power of birth? It's just a physical thing. Where does it get the power of birth? It comes from the essence of the person's soul. It says it comes from the brain. It comes from the brain. That's why it's always connected with pleasure, because pleasure is above understanding. So it has this aspect that's above the brain, above understanding, comes from the essence of the father. That's why sometimes the father can be a dunce or whatever is a low person, and the child can be very high, because the essence of the father was really much higher than what the father revealed. But the seed comes from the essence of the father. So this seed comes from the essence of the father. When this seed was in the brain, wasn't the seed, it was the power of giving birth. So then it was a completely different spiritual thing. Now it comes down and becomes a seed, and this seed gives birth. So the seed is much more physicalized, much more material, even though it has the power of birth, but it's much more material, incomparably less spiritual than it was when it was in the brain, right? When it was in its source, right? The seed. That's what happens when a person is born, a Jew is born. It says every Jew is a son of God, because the essence of the Jewish soul is like the seed from the brain of the father, right? That's what it says, second chapter of the Tanya. It says, good, it was a seed from the essence of the father, but the fact is it's a seed like as it comes out of the father, not as it's connected in its essence to the father. So if so, the Jewish soul, even though it's a part of God, but it's like a seed when it's already come out. It doesn't feel the essence of God all the time. There are big tzaddikim that feel somewhat. So if so, this Jewish soul, as high as it is, and it's part of God, but it's like a creation. It's say separated in a certain way from the essence of the Creator. It comes from the essence of the Creator, but it's separated. How can this receive the pleasures in the world to come, which the pleasures in the world to come, that's a ray of the essence of God itself. It's like a creation receiving from the Creator. God made such a big effort, of whatever when you want to call it, to conceal himself in order to make a separate creation. And now we want to say when the soul goes up to heaven, all of a sudden it's able to, and it still is a creation when it goes up to heaven. And it's still, how is it able to receive from the essence of the Creator? So it says, in the beginning, when the seed of the father, let's go back to the example, the seed of the father comes out of the brain, it's purely spiritual. When this power of birth comes from the brain of the father, it's not physical, but it comes down through the spinal cord, becomes more and more adapted to becoming physical, until it becomes actually physical, and then it can be carried out from the father and the seed of the father. So it is also the soul. The main thing, we're talking about the Jewish soul. The main source of the Jewish soul comes from pure godliness. Pure godliness. I'm sorry. Yeah. Pure godliness. But the soul, as it comes out from its source, is purely godly. But as it comes down, level and level, dimension after dimension after dimension, then it becomes a creation. So that I have a Jewish soul, and you have a Jewish soul, and you have your Jewish soul. Everyone has their own Jewish soul. If it was infinite, how could it possibly be? He says, because God makes this thing of contraction. If so, this idea that the soul is, so to speak, separate, the soul is a creation. It's a unit. It's not infinite. If so, how can the soul, when it goes up to heaven, how can it possibly grasp the essence of godliness that's revealed there? What's the answer? Do you understand the question, Herschel? Do you understand the question?
But the soul is not separate. It's not a separate creation.
The soul, as it comes into the body, is, so to speak, separate. Infinitely more separate than it was when it was in its source. Like a ray of sunlight. A ray of sunlight, when it's in the sun, it's not a ray of sunlight. But we have to say it is. I mean, it comes out of the sunlight, comes out of the sun.
It's connected to the sun.
Right, when it's connected. When the ray of sun comes out of the sun,
Yeah, it's still connected.
then, right, it's connected, but not like it was when it was in the sun. Right?
It wasn't a ray when it was in the sun.
It wasn't a ray because of the power of the sun, but certainly it was a ray. It must have been something. Right? The ray before it came out of the sun, it must have had an existence.
So the question is, how is the soul disconnected?
No, the soul is disconnected, that Hashem makes. He puts it into your body, into my body, and makes it disconnected.
I mean, it seems like it's disconnected.
Right.
It does, but it's not disconnected.
If it seems like it is, then that means to a certain degree it is. It's a creation. It's my soul.
Well, that's the hiddenness of Hashem.
Huh?
That's the hiddenness of Hashem, but in reality, it's connected.
Listen, in reality, everything is connected, right? There's nothing outside of God.
Yeah.
Everything is connected to God, right?
Yeah.
But nevertheless, God created the world. What does it mean created? he concealed and made veils and this, and did all sorts of tricks with permutations with letters.
The same way
So,
that this soul thinks it's disconnected.
if it thinks it's connected, it is disconnected. In its essence, everything is connected to God, right?
Yeah.
Right. What's the difference between the Holy Temple and the Empire State Building? Right. They're both godliness. God is everywhere, right? It says the Empire State Building revealed godliness, but nevertheless, the Beit HaMikdash, I wanted to say concealed godliness. The Empire State Building conceals godliness, right? The Holy Temple reveals godliness. Right? It reveals godliness. Nevertheless, the level of godliness that was revealed in the Holy Temple was not the essence of God. Only in the Holy of Holies, on Yom Kippur, whatever, when the Kohen Gadol went in and he served God, only then did he draw down this level of the essence of God. And even then,
It's the lowness.
right? It's not.
As you were describing, that we don't see the greatness, we see the lowness.
Okay, no, that.
It's a creation.
The Beit HaMikdash is a little bit different. The Beit
It's a
HaMikdash,
higher level than
Beit HaMikdash is not like
sitting here, but it's still.
the upper worlds, etc. That's part of the creation. The Beit HaMikdash was revealed the Creator, because when the Kohen went in, he was doing a commandment. So the commandment attached to the essence of godliness. It was a commandment to go in. So it was a little bit different. Nevertheless, let's take this example. The Kohen Gadol was a person, and he had a soul that was a separate soul from my soul. He was a unique person, and his soul had a tremendous revelation of God, and etc. And he was higher than everybody else. But nevertheless, he was a separate person. How can this separate person with a separate soul, as high as the soul is, it's a godly soul, it's a Jewish godly soul, but it still is a separate creation, right? How can that receive from the essence of the Creator and still remain whole, remain in itself? It's like taking a ray of sunlight and putting it back into the sun, and the ray of sunlight still retains its identity as this particular ray of sunlight, right? Oh, that's the ray of sunlight that shined on us yesterday in its source. And that makes no sense.
Mystery how he does it.
Okay, so this is, how can it possibly be? The Inyan is like this. Herschel, Kasiv, it says, Vayavo Moshe betocha anan, that Moshe went into the cloud. Vayehi sham arba'im yom v'arba'im loyla, and arba'im, he was there in the cloud 40 days and 40 nights. Lechem lo achal, and he didn't eat any bread. He didn't eat bread, and he didn't drink any wine. He didn't drink any water. How can that be? I mean, a person that doesn't eat or drink for 40 days, 40 nights, didn't nothing whatsoever. Didn't eat or drink 40 days. Good, you can figure maybe sometimes a person, there's these people I think in India, I don't know if it's really true, but they can go in like this trance. They go in a trance where they sort of shut down all the bodily functions. And then they're in this trance, and they can. Good. But Moshe definitely was not in a trance. The whole time that he was up there, he was learning Torah, God was teaching him Torah, right?
Yeah,
And
he looked up the life support.
he was very, very active, right? Oh. So it says, Haya gufo gashmi nizamni mazan ruchni. His physical body was fed by spiritual food alone. Kamoshe Chatuv, like it says, Lechem avirim ochal ish. It says, the bread of angels a man ate. That was Moshe when he was on Mount Sinai. Mamish, kamoa malachim, just like the angels. How can this possibly be? Shagashmi, that Moshe was a physical person. He didn't evaporate or lick whatever it is. How could a physical person, yekabel mazon v'chayos miruchdius, that he can get food from spiritual? Shamuvdalim zeba zebetachlis, that they're separated one from the other totally. Zeu inyan ha'anan, that's the idea of the cloud. Shaya Moshe alav hashalom mitchasebo. Moshe was covering himself with this cloud. He was covered by the cloud. Haino. Shahaya ha'anan shorsho mimedregas alukus meod laila. This cloud that Moshe went into in order to receive godliness had a very, very high source. But shenishtalshel in his gashem, but it came down to be a cloud, a garment from Moshe, alav hashalom. Sha'al Yado, that by means of this cloud, Yochal is able, Lahasi Yalokus, to grasp godliness. V'haya lo mazon, and he had food from it. Kamashal Adam, like a person who roam istakal ba'or tzach derech yiriyah, like a person who looks at a very bright light through a what is it, like a cloth, huh? Like through a cloth or something. It blocks it out through our sunglasses. Kamoke in Torah, the same thing. Torah of mitzvahs and ma'asiyos sheshor shamim ratzon elyon. The Torah and the commandments that we do, that their source comes from higher than the world. It comes from what's called God's upper will, michachmato yitbarech, or it comes from God's upper wisdom, she'em yuchadim bo, that these God's upper will and His wisdom. Upper will is the commandments. Upper wisdom is the Torah. They are totally united with God. Hu chachim below v'chachmi yadiyah she'em lamayla miziva shechina. This is above the ray of the Shekhinah. Shehu rak hispashtu sachayis. This is only spreading out of life. Benishtalshalu, benispashtu, benislabshu, beninyani zeh ha'olam hagashmi. And the commandments in the Torah spread out and are enclosed in this physical world. Just like the cloud that Moshe Rabbeinu went in, which enabled him to receive from the essence of God when he was in Mount Sinai. So Torah and the commandments are also like a cloud, which enable us to receive the essence of God when we're here down in the world. Kamo klav shel tefillin v'tzemer shel tzitzis. It says like the parchment of your tefillin or a sefer Torah, and the wool which the tzitzis are made of, or tzedakah, physical coins. With these things, when a person, also b'Torah, when a person works in Torah and the commandments, nasa nishmaso levushim, there is made in his soul, there for his soul are made garments, shenish labish b'hem, that the soul can be enclosed in these garments of God's will and God's wisdom, began Eden Elyon, in the upper heaven. Sha'al yadei al yadam, that by means of Torah and the commandments that you do, tochal neshama, the soul, which is a nivra, which is as high as it is, it's still a creation. Even the godly soul is a creation. Lahasik ziva shechina, to grasp the ray of the shechina, essence of God. That's what it means. What's better? One moment and tshuva and good deeds. Shem shorsham miratzon elyon, they come from God's upper will. Borahu mikol chayolam abad, then all the life of the world to come. Shehu rak ziva shechina, that it's only just a ray of the shechina, like we said before. Mikol makom nikrin levushim. Nevertheless, the Torah and commandments are called garments. Okay, so what's going on? Let's make it clear. We have three levels. We have this world and the world to come, right? And Torah and the commandments. So we have this world. This world includes also the angels and all the spiritual levels. Then we have what's called the world to come. The world to come is a little bit of a ray of the essence of God. Shoots down. That's what a person receives, says, by means the reward of his Torah and his commandments. He receives, what does it mean? The reward. Really, when a person does a commandment, it's something infinite happens, but he doesn't feel it. But when after his body is gone, then he starts to feel it. That's the reward you get in the world to come, the Torah and the commandments. Ask the Rebbe, how can a person receive this? Good, you understand. The soul is very spiritual and your body is gone. But the revelation that there is in these upper worlds is higher than the revelation that the angels receive. The angels are only creations. And the soul receives a revelation, a little ray of the revelation of the essence of God in the world to come, in heaven. So the Rebbe says, but the soul is also a creation. It's a very high creation. It's higher than the angels, but it still is a creation. How can this soul Same question if we have for the angels. Right? The angels can't receive this level; it's too high. How can the soul receive it? It says the soul is very high. It says, as high as the soul is, it's just a creation. It cannot receive a ray of the essence of God. Can't do it. So it says, okay, so it can't do it. So it won't, but people get reward. It says the world to come, you get the ray of essence of God. How does it do it? So it says, because the Torah and the commandments that you do also provide you with garments. So by means of these garments, you can receive the upper world, from the upper world. Huh? If so, that's the question comes down. The reason that you're doing the commandments in this world is in order to make these garments, and also in order to get these rewards in the upper world. So the whole thing that this world is just temporary, and you're doing it to make preparation to get these big rewards and the vessels to receive these rewards in the world to come. This world is just like nothing. Preparation. All of a sudden it says in Pirkei Avos, no, that good deeds in this world are worth more than the whole entire world to come, with all the garments, with all the everything, worth more than everything. How can it possibly be? The answer will be tomorrow.